Hello, Legion. This is Hadrian. Thank you for being here. Let's play some more of The Long Dark in our Survival School series. So, we need to head back out now that we have a little bit of daylight before things get really dark and generally not navigable. But also now that the weather's a little better, we have a little bit of time to go out and visit that wolf that we dropped. Still foggy, which is what you would expect immediately after a storm. Not all the moisture in the air has just immediately disappeared. So we're going to head back this direction. We only have one bullet, so I'm actually going to put the gun away. One thing I haven't mentioned yet, but I think is relatively important, even... relatively. It's very important, even on the lower difficulty levels where supplies are more plentiful and scavengeable supplies are more plentiful. Cartridges, rounds for the rifle, cannot be crafted. Not at present, not as of February or March 2017. So what you have to understand is that every bullet you find, right now I only have one. I will find more because we're playing on Voyager. But every bullet you find is extremely important to your survival. And kind of like I was talking in the last video about how not to treat The Long Dark like a first-person shooter, you don't just want to start, pointing the rifle in general directions and popping off rounds. That's the last thing that you want to do, even in the lower difficulties. You want to really make every shot count, because bullets are a limited resource. And even on those lowest difficulty levels, you will be switching to the bow and arrow at some point, because you will simply run out of bullets. But you can craft arrows, so that's the win. So we're going to head back over to the wolf. Also, I want to take the opportunity not only to thank the people that have been commenting and leaving suggestions and alternative perspectives on the series so far, but also to remind you that if you are watching this series and are not taking a second to read the comments after each episode, please do so. You don't have to, obviously, but I really think that in order to get the full experience of the tutorial, you should really read what other people have to say, because at no point do I intend to present myself as some kind of know-it-all about this game. I do know a lot. I've played it a lot, but I don't know everything. And a lot of things have changed since I started playing it, and my habits have not all adjusted 100%. So just be aware of that. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, and I say that quite proudly because I know that there are a number of people in the comment section willing to point out additional things that I might not mention in each episode, or might not mention yet because I'm trying to pace myself. But I also know that there are people who are willing to correct me if there's something that I say that is outdated or just outright wrong, which hopefully won't be the case. But again, don't forget to read the comments when you get a chance, because there have been a lot of great contributions already. One of which is that carcasses such as these remain for 3 entire days. Now, again, I haven't tested that in my own gameplay. It sounds right based on my experience. What I was thinking was that since it was out in a blizzard, carcasses can decay to a point where they are no longer harvestable, like this one is. This one's frozen. It's 98% frozen, in fact, but it's still harvestable. But carcasses can actually decay to a point where you can no longer get anything from them. And I was thinking that because there was a blizzard out, that might have accelerated that process. But again, go to the comments and you get the full picture, or at least something closer to it. So anyway, we're now looking at this wolf. We've got 8.5 pounds of wolf meat. We have a hide and a gut. Now, or 2 guts, actually. Now, we need to use a tool. Right now, our only tool that we have is a hunting knife. And the corpse is frozen, which means that the time it takes to harvest this is going to be somewhat increased. Let's go ahead and try that fire. Now we're getting some green. Just to show you the effect that this fire has on this corpse. All right, we're going to go with one of our sticks. Don't have any accelerant, so we've got a 60% chance here. 3 and 5. Let's see how they do. So I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I'll reinforce it now since we're listening to these crows in the background. This is the sound of normal crows. You'll hear this when they are circling a body. Learn to recognize this sound loop, and it might be added to in the future, but for now, this is the sound of normal crows.
Well.
All right, let's go ahead and add some fuel to that fire. Notice that that is also heating the fire up a lot faster. If I were to click on the campfire and say add some fuel, notice that would increase the rate at which the fire was getting hotter. The nice thing is that we are now, it feels like 52 degrees. Scratch that 53, scratch that 54, etc. You know, it's just getting warmer and warmer. So now we're sitting at 55, nice and pretty. And the wolf carcass is now only 90% frozen. So at 90% frozen, it's going to take an hour and 17 minutes. Tell you what, let's harvest everything. Right now it's going to take 2 hours and 7 minutes to harvest everything, right? So what I'm going to do is while that is burning down, how much time do we have? Hour and 30 minutes? Okay. It's going to take just over 2 hours, right? So let's come over here to the deer. It's going to take an hour and 26 minutes. But that's actually kind of perfect because that's about all the time we have. Right now it feels like 36 degrees, so we are a little hungry. Let's see if we can fix that problem before we dive in here. Why not drink a couple of our cups of herbal tea? Because this is going to help. It's going to help a little bit on our hunger meter. Tell you what, energy bar. This is something you won't find on a higher difficulty, but it's 500 calories. Always a nice find when you're still scavenging. All right, let's go ahead and... The fire's going to be gone by the time we turn around. But we're going to harvest this corpse completely. We're going to take everything off of it, which is ideally what you should be doing every time you happen upon a corpse. Okay, now this fire is still embers, which is perfect. That means it's been burning by this wolf this entire time. Now let's see what a difference we have. It's 6% frozen now. It's odd that it's 6% frozen. Maybe... Okay, it just burned out. 5% frozen. Okay, maybe it didn't go all the way down. But anyway, now that it's only that percent frozen, notice we've shaved an hour off of the time it would have taken to harvest that corpse. So the temperature of the corpse matters. Now, there are certain things you can do, like if you're harvesting meat with a hacksaw, because it's a hacksaw and it's made to cut through hard things, that will harvest at the same amount of time regardless. We don't have a hacksaw right now, but just know that there's some fine-tuning you can do. And I'm not going to go into full detail. Again, the purpose is just to kind of give you an inkling of what's possible and let you discover most of these things on your own. So, you should just bear in mind that what tool you use and the temperature of the corpse will determine how long it takes to do various things, generally speaking. All right, so let's go ahead and harvest this. Feels like 31 degrees, so we're going to start getting cold now. And also, it is...
carry much more.
Okay, Mark. That's okay, because we are going to go back. So anyway, yes. The sound of these crows, this is the friendly sound. You shouldn't worry when you hear this. Hopefully, within a few episodes, I will introduce you to the sound of unfriendly crows, because you should know the difference, especially if you're going to start playing. I recommended in the first episode that, maybe folks that feel a bit more proficient with survival games maybe could jump in on Stalker difficulty and be okay. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have your guard up. Absolutely not. And learning the different sounds that the wildlife makes is one of the many things that can help you in the long dark. So what we're going to do now is head back to the cabin and drop our supplies on the ground. We're also going to drop our meat in the snow. This is a bit more of a pro tip for you as opposed to like an introductory thing, but if you want to preserve food, leave it outside. There are currently, as of February and March 2017, there are no mechanics for wildlife coming by. It would not surprise me at all if this changed, because this is the kind of thing that the Long Dark likes to simulate. But there are currently no mechanics for wildlife coming by and stealing your meat. So if I want to use the snow that surrounds my base camp as a natural freezer, I can do that. I can set all the meat I have in the snow, and it'll be fine. It'll last a lot longer. The condition will not degrade as quickly because because it's surrounded by ice. But we're going to put the hides and the guts inside, and I'll show you why. And we'll also, since this is episode 4, we'll take a moment to actually go through the crafting menu in a little bit more detail. We talked about it on the fly 2 episodes ago, but I would like to go into more detail now. All right, so let's open up our backpack and drop every last bit of this meat. Of course, we have more wolf meat than deer meat, which on higher difficulty levels would be cause for caution. Not concern, but caution. And I'll get to that once we're cooking that meat. But for now, let's walk over here, go to our crafting section. We have a fresh deer hide and a fresh wolf hide, and 2 from each corpse, fresh guts. What can you use the guts for, you might be wondering. I'm about to show you. So let's separate this stuff. One thing you'll notice when you are dropping stuff on the ground for the first time is that when you drop stuff, it piles up very easily, but when you start moving things around like this, you can't put stuff on top of each other, so sometimes it can be more efficient. Here, I'll actually show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's say I want all my fresh guts in one neat little pile without spreading them out like that. Do that. That way they're a little bit more condensed. Anyway, let's head over here. By the way, I'll talk about what that's doing in just a second, but I wanted to come over here to show you what you can use the items that we are setting up for. Okay. So here's the Old Man's Beard wound dressing, which again, you can craft on the fly. Takes 3 Old Man's Beard lichen and 1 bandage. Bandage you can make with cloth, again, on the fly. So you can use this, or you can make this, rather, at the table if you would like. Any crafting bench like this one. Or you can make it on the fly. Torch, same thing. You need some lamp oil, need some cloth, some reclaimed wood, but then you have something that you can light anytime for a little bit of extra light. Snare. This is another thing. I believe this is on the... No, snare is not. So snare you cannot, in fact, make anywhere other than at a crafting bench. So, you'll need a cured gut. This is why I wanted to walk over here before I explain what we just did. Now, I put the... Here comes a blizzard again. I've put the deer hide, I've put the wolf hide, and the foreguts down on the floor indoors. Not under a shelter outside. We have gone into an interior environment and set them down. Now, after 5 full days, they will be 100% cured, and then we can use them for crafting items. So, right now, they are... Can't point at them. Don't know why not. 1% cured. In 5 days, they'll be 100% cured. So you can actually craft hooks out of scrap metal at the bench. You don't need to actually go to the forge. Some of the heavier duty metal items in the game, and we will not be going to the forge in this tutorial because there is not a forge in Mystery Lake. But some of the heavier duty items, excuse me, you can find, you can make in the forge. This, however, being a very simple metal hook, you can just forge out of scrap metal at the crafting table. Line, same thing. You can go ahead and just use some of the cured guts, and you have fishing line. And notice, I can't talk. I've been gone all weekend. I forgot how to narrate things. All right, so notice that when you use 1 cured gut, you actually get 2 lines out of this. And notice when you use 1 scrap metal, you get 3 hooks. So be mindful of the numbers in parentheses when you're looking at these. And then, of course, fishing tackle, which we've already made. And we do need to go fishing soon, since we've already shot a wolf and gotten some food that way. So anyway, now we have some of the best items in the game that you can craft. These are the only ones in the game right now. The rabbitskin mitts, deerskin boots. Notice the bonuses are listed here. Deerskin pants, and then the wolfskin coat. Now there's also a bearskin coat, which, as you can see, is even more hardcore than the wolfskin coat. Now, one thing I will go ahead and tell you, and the bearskin bedroll as well, which is quite useful to have. Survival bow, arrow shaft. Anyway, lots of stuff that you can make at the crafting table. We're going to make some of this stuff in this series, some not, because again, the point is not to show you every last little thing. Again, we're not going to the forge, for instance. None of the stuff that's craftable at the forge is on this list. But, let's see, what was I going to say? We were talking about the bearskin bedroll. Oh, yes, it's still evading me. Okay, well, let's go upstairs, and it'll come back to me. We need to wait out this storm anyway. We're a little bit thirsty. And I actually don't have a lot. How much wood do I have over here? A little bit. Actually, no, not a lot. That was all. Just the fire log. Alright, well, let's start a fire real quick. Oh, what I was going to say, and this is very, very important, and this is, I suppose, a little bit of a spoiler, but this is going to help you make your decision when it comes to jumping into difficulty levels and making these items that I was just telling you about at the crafting table. The highest level items that you can find on Voyager and Stalker, the highest level scavengeable items, scavengeable clothing, I guess I should say. When I say scavengeable, I'm just referring to things that you find in the world as opposed to things that you have to make or cook. So the highest level scavengeable clothing items are actually better at present Again, this is early access, but at present, it's actually better to have the highest level scavageable items than to make those items we looked at on the crafting bench downstairs. That's what I was trying to remember from a moment ago. So just bear that in mind. Those items are awesome, but at present, the best items in the game you can just find without making anything. I won't tell you what they are, but it's definitely true. It's kind of crazy, because that came with the latest update to the Long Dark, and when I noticed it in one of my lower difficulty playthroughs, I was quite surprised. Alright, so let's go ahead and drink a little bit. And then we're going to eat our lower condition items. Again, always good to eat the lower condition items before they drop too far below 30%, because then you run the risk of food poisoning. If you're eating something that is a little bit too rough. Let's sort by weight and see what our heaviest stuff is. We're carrying a lot of cattails on us. Tell you what, let's reduce the burden of these a little bit by eating a few. Good number of blizzards in Mystery Lake at this difficulty level for the past couple of episodes. For us to have 2 in a row like this is uncommon. Especially in the early game. Weather in the Long Dark does degrade over time. So the longer you're playing in any given playthrough, the harsher the environment becomes. Also, wildlife becomes more scarce. So it's not just the weather, it's the ability to hunt. The game gets harder and harder the longer you play. That's a more recent addition. So still being fine-tuned. Okay. I mean, we could sleep, but we are not going to get through the whole night. So let's get some rest. So we're at 100% condition, at least. Yeah, that didn't last long at all. 3 hours darkness left. Let's drink this, because we're carrying over a gallon of water, which, as you can see, is plenty heavy. We need to reduce that load as much as possible. I wish there was a little bit more light, because I could read right now. I've got a couple of books on me. I've got Field Dressing Your Kill, and I've got The Frozen Angler. So since we're fully rested and we need to pass some time, rather than passing the time using the game's mechanics, why don't I pass the time just for a second talking about some of the stuff we haven't looked at yet. If you hit the J key on the computer, I'm not sure which button it would be. It might be the menu button, or rather not the menu button, but the change window button, so the button on the inside left of the Xbox controller. Could be mistaken. You can pull up the journal. And again, if I'm ever wrong about I don't use the gamepad, so if I'm ever wrong about anything that you would hit, any control that you would hit on the gamepad, by all means, just leave a comment and correct me. And that way, you guys listening that are learning the gamepad controls, you can just double check. Or you can just, look at the gamepad settings in the game. Anyway, I digress. So when you pull up the journal, you can see a summary of each day, which is pretty handy. I've explored 7% of the world as of today, and I've rested for 4 hours. And then I've had very good condition so far, burned a few calories. This is the beginning of the day starting at midnight, so we've only ever been at 100% condition today. Now, this is the tab that I really wanted to get to. This is the current state of our skills. You can have better carcass harvesting, so we've harvested a couple carcasses now, and as you can see, we've gotten better at it. We've been cooking some things, we've started some fires. We can get ice fishing skill as well, so going out there and fishing helps. I did nail a wolf in the face, so our rifle firearm skill is going up. And one thing that's important to know is that as these improve, you get a couple of benefits. Number one, for that specific game, you get better, like I was talking about with the rifle, you get better at hitting things. Fire starting, you get better at, I won't spoil what the highest benefits are, but they're amazing. You get better at starting fires. Your chance increases, and then once you hit level 3, level 4, level 5, you're actually looking at substantial bonuses to your fire starting. But that's true of all of these skills. You have to play a long time to get all these up to level 5 in one playthrough. But the other benefit that you get is, when we started the game, you saw that I chose not to set up any feats. That was intentional because, this is a vanilla playthrough. But you can earn feats, and feats, of course, are across all of your playthroughs. So you can have bonuses to various things because you've done one thing here so much. There is a feat, for instance, that is related to fire starting. So just something to bear in mind when it comes to skills. You can also take a look at your stats page here. And this is a very, very, very useful way for you to compare your current run to your all-time stats and just see how you're doing in the game world so far if you are a bit of a numbers junkie. In collectibles, we haven't found any so far. I don't actually know. There is one collectible there in Timberwolf Mountain that I can think of, and there may be more that I'm not aware of. But you can definitely find collectibles as well in the game world, and I'm sure as story mode comes closer to release, there's going to be more and more to be found there. But anyway, 2 hours darkness left. Can we tell you what? Let's pass the time for 1 hour and then sleep for 1 hour, and we should be good to start a new day. Okay, woke up fully rested, as expected. I'm going to go ahead and eat this condensed milk, because this is going to give me a little bit of hydration, as well as 750 calories, plus it's going to relieve me of a ½ pound of encumbrance. Speaking of which, let me just take another look at what I'm carrying to make sure there's nothing I can drop. This is a good thing to do every once in a while. I have 2 flares on me right now. One of the more consistent criticisms, especially, well, at least of my earlier videos, I don't do this as much as I used to, but one of the more consistent criticisms that I have received as a player, and I don't mind talking about it at all, is the fact that I have in the past tended to carry around a lot of flares. On lower difficulties, you will find tons of them. You really don't want more than a couple on you at any given time, and that's why. Look how heavy they are. Just be mindful of the fact that all these little things add up. So let me take another second to look around here. Or look through my inventory, rather, and make sure I've got what I need before I go out. I'm actually going to... These are the reason I went into the skills discussion is you can use these books to give a one-time jump to your skills. And we're going to do that, but we're not going to do it now. I'm going to leave these behind. For now, I'm still in exploration mode, because if I were playing by myself, that's what I'd be doing. That's a playstyle choice, of course. If you are more of a hunker-down type of player, you might choose to do research sooner. To spend your time doing research earlier in a playthrough. But I'm going to hold off. All right, now it is freaking cold. This is always a little bit risky walking up this hill away from the camp office, because it's a blind hill, and by now it should be obvious why you would avoid blind hills on an average day. So we're just gonna walk casually down this way. It feels like -8 degrees right now, so I can't be outside for long. Thankfully I've got protection on every part of my body. Not a lot of protection, but I've got protection. Oh hey, found a wolf. And I only have 1 bullet that I really don't want to waste. I can't tell if he's walking. Yeah, he's walking towards me. So I'm going to walk this way. If you ever want to be a little stealthier and reduce your likelihood of detection by an animal, friendly or foe, crouch. You can still move while crouched. It makes your life just a little bit easier. All right, tell you what, that wolf is actually, that's just ruined my day a little bit. So we're actually going to go back inside and rest a little bit longer, just so that we can get a little bit deeper into the day. I'm picking up a few more sticks here because we want to be at that magic 15 number. Yeah, that's wrecked my day a little bit. And this weather's not looking great either. It's cold. So let's, before we get too intrepid, let's let some time pass. Maybe the weather will calm down a little bit, in addition to warming up. This is, in and of itself, a major gameplay mechanic and decision process for the Long Dark. Just knowing when, you poke your head outside and just knowing when to say, nope. I'm going to hold off on that today, thanks. So let's sleep for just an hour. And see what kind of difference that makes in the weather and the temperature. I think I'm hearing more wind. It's not encouraging. Yeah, So the weather could be worsening. We could be about to have another blizzard, which would be crazy on this difficulty level this soon. Yeah, it's colder. Holy crap. All right, well, what I'm going to do, we're at the 25-minute mark for this episode. I'm going to cut this one here. And in the next one, we are going to do a little bit more exploring. Because, again, I'm still in scavenging mode, and I want to try and find as much stuff as I can. Clothing-wise, bullets-wise. I want to have more bullets. That's my main reason for wanting to go out right now. I want to find other locations that are going to have bullets. I may go to the dam with this one bullet. I have a particular wolf that I'm saving it for. So I may, in fact, do that. One thing I do want to mention before I cut the episode, speaking of predators, one thing I've learned that I was completely unaware of. I've been playing the Long Dark since before difficulty levels were a thing, since before any other zones even existed aside from the one we're in right now. So some of the little minutia that have been added in patches since has, again, slipped under my radar. And one of the things that has been revealed through comments that I found very interesting is when you're playing on lower level difficulties, Voyager and Pilgrim, maybe Stalker. Well, no, not Stalker. I know for a fact it's not Stalker, but Voyager and Pilgrim, you actually will not see wildlife for the first day and a half or so. I don't know what the exact amount of time is. Check the comments on this episode and people can clarify. People have already mentioned it in previous episodes' comments, but just be mindful of the fact that when you're playing on higher level difficulties, predators may be there right away, but the game gives you a bit of a reprieve in the earlier difficulty levels. I didn't know that, but hey, it's one of the good things about having an interactive series like this is that that blank got filled in for me. So I appreciate you guys very much for pointing that out. And I appreciate you for watching. Thanks very much for being here. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to follow along. New episodes in Survival School air every day, if I can talk, at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Comments are always welcome. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.